Hey everybody, I've jumped back on here to just make a video about whatever. Um, I have been in a place where I'm sort of revisiting the 12 principles that I wrote about in my book, I Died and Learned How to Live. Um, and the overarching energy of my NDE was an energy of love and law of attraction. So, for those who know what law of attraction is, it was this non resistant environment where my desire for whatever manifested instantaneously. For those who are not familiar with law of attraction, it's a state of being where you are allowing for things to manifest that you desire, focusing on those things that you desire as opposed to things that you do not desire. Because regardless of what we focus our energy on, um, it manifests. So if we're thinking about talking about um, things that make us feel bad, then shifting to something, changing the subject, changing the focus to allow for us to feel good, sort of removing that negativity from the equation, and that helps for things in this 3D dense, heavy, thick world to manifest faster. So I was first introduced to what is termed law of attraction approximately like 10 years after my NDE. My NDE, occurred in 2000, and I invite you to go on my channel here and watch my video where I talk about my NDE. And I wrote about it because I wanted to share what I learned from it. My book wasn't so much about the transition experience. We don't really die. I titled it "I Die and Learned How to Live" because people will be like, oh, like death, but I'm interested in that. But we don't die. We transition. We just change form. Um, so when I was in that energetic state of the transition into death, what we call death, um, I learned so many things, and I just pushed them away, just pushed all of it away because I had to try to live here, and I was really having a hard time. Just the day to day, being a professional, um, and having to care for people in a medical setting. I felt a lot of responsibility, personal responsibility. I take practicing medicine very seriously. I take caring for people very seriously. And um, and I have felt like I had to give most of my focus, if not all of it at times, to my job. I was also trying to raise my daughter. And my husband at the time was a traveling musician, and he was touring quite a bit. So I was a single parent. Um, so there was a lot of things that happened that, kind of led me to just push my NDE to the side and not give it the attention that it needed for me to process it. So many of us just don't process the NDE for one reason or another. And of course, because there is absolutely impeccable, perfect timing in this temporal world we live in, mine occurred, years later. Um, there, the things I learned, I call the 12 principles for daily living because they are like encompassed, all 12 of them, when practiced, when we embody them, then it helps so much in navigating this world. One of the things that is super important and that I wanted to mention here at least is the dual nature of this existence and how we can be thrown into one side or the other, by whatever it is we're exposed to. Conversations, media is a huge one. Um, our programmed thinking from the time we were little. We have been brought up in this world where, it's one or the other. It's pick a side. It's we're constantly being kind of thrust up against um, the just the choices that we have to make from day to day. And what I'm proposing here in this video is to take a step back from all of that and try to take a bird's eye view, an objective view, which any scientist watching would understand the necessity of that to be able to approach information in a truly unbiased way, because we do have so many biases as humans. Sorry, there's somebody sawing outside. If that's interfering, I apologize. But to be able to take that objective view when observing the world around us and put ourselves in the middle, to take the middle road, it benefits us so much. And in my NDE, I was the observer. I was the impartial entity that was experiencing and observing everything all at once. There was no judgment. There was no comparing anything to anything. There was just being. And in that beingness, there is so much peace. So as we experience this world around us with all of the information that is in front of us at any given moment, whether through social media or otherwise, I just invite you to pause and take a bird's eye view and look at things objectively. Also knowing that we are rarely being given the entire story in any situation, and that there is a lot more going on behind the scenes that we are not privy to. Therefore, any sort of ego-based judgment that comes in is probably in error. I'll stop there with regard to that. I might do another video later on to talk a little bit more about that. But for now, I just invite you to be the observer and feel how that feels. See if it changes your internal environment. See if it changes your external environment as well. Law of attraction and love. That's it. Lots of love.